what happened to us for playing the Ouija board.
If I've said it once, I'll say it again. But if there is something running at me and I can't physically see it, I am packing my things and moving immediately.
I would dream of a tall, dark woman standing, all leaned down, and she didn't fit, coming slowly upstairs in my room direction.
If you're a person that gets scared easily, don't watch this video. Today's story is going to be about me, my experience with having a dragon that was attached to me for years.
Please, I don't have any time for any gossip now. Huh? Yes.
Look at you.
Do something with it.
It's just money coming to me easily. Money coming in and needing me. Money coming in repeatedly. Money coming, it's just money coming. It's just money coming to me frequently. Money coming in to be with me. Money coming in secretly. Money coming, it's just money coming. It's just money coming to me always. Money coming in all day. Money coming in all paid. Money coming, it's just money coming. It's just money coming to me frequently. Money coming in to be with me. Money coming in secretly.
Ready for these scary story times because I am. Hey y'all, welcome back to All Things Jenny. I'm Jenny. If you're new, welcome. If you're not new, welcome back. I have some amazing scary stories for you guys today. I hope y'all ready. Go ahead and grab your snack, grab your drink, grab your smoke, whatever it is that you need, because these stories are good. Let's get into it.
If I've said it once, I'll say it again. But if there is something running at me and I can't physically see it, I am packing my things and moving immediately. Okay. And with that being said, let's jump right into tonight's story. So grab your favorite tea and settle in, and let me tell you another scary Appalachian story, because of course, this is Tea After Midnight. This story comes from Liv. Hi Savannah, my name is Liv, and I'm a huge fan of Tea After Midnight and wanted to contribute some stories from my childhood home in West Virginia. Of course, all names are changed except my own for others' privacy. I was born in Wisconsin but moved to West Virginia when I was 6. Because of that, I did not learn Appalachian etiquette until I was much older. However, I had at least heard of creepy tales about creatures and unexplainable circumstances from places deep in the woods. My home was in a decently populated area with houses neighboring ours, lit street lamps, and little traffic. Not the usual place of Appalachian horror stories. Directly across the street was a small patch of woods. I thought because it was not a huge forest, it wouldn't count as an area needing supernatural precautions. Needless to say, I was very, very wrong. My sister Emily and I would sometimes walk the trek of woods from one end to the other. It started down the end of our street, and there was a well-trodden path that led all the way to the other side. It was relatively straight, but one side of the trail steeply plummeted into a creek at the bottom. The other side was a steep incline headed upwards to the top of the hill, so the only way to safely traverse the woods was this trail. At the time of this incident, I was 8 and she was 10. We were walking as we usually did when we heard running footsteps behind us, crunching on the leaves. It was uncommon but not unusual for us to interact with others in these woods, so we turned and stepped to the side to let them pass, only there was no one in sight. Emily looked at me concerned and we laughed it off, thinking it was probably a squirrel. Continuing onward, we walked for a few minutes before we heard it again. It sounded like heavy stomps, moving quickly like it was lightly running. We looked at each other and I glanced behind us to see if it was a person, but again, no one was there. An uneasy feeling crept up the back of my neck. I asked Emily if we could turn around and go back home since that direction was shorter from where we were. Emily shook her head and whispered that we should keep moving forward. Heading toward the unusual is what idiots in horror movies did, so we continued on. Since we were both young, unsupervised girls alone in the woods, my sister always brought our father's pocket knife with us. She took it out and opened it up, putting her free hand in mine. As we continued walking, we noticed that the sky was getting dark. It was only 1 or 2 in the afternoon when we started our hike, so the sun setting should be hours away. The uneasy feeling grew stronger, and the usual noise of the woods had gone very, very quiet. Concerned, Emily clutched my hand tighter, and we started walking so fast I almost had to run. That is when I heard what I thought was my father's voice shout my name from behind us. I went to turn, but my sister dragged me forward. Then I heard the running footsteps again, heavy and sounding like a large person was running full speed at us. Scared, we both started running as fast as we could to get to the end. I glanced back to see the fallen leaves shift and crunch in time with the running steps, but there was no figure making them. We made it out of the woods and collapsed in the parking lot. The sky brightened and the noise of the woods returned, and the footsteps behind us were gone. Needless to say, we never went back into those woods without our parents or our brother. After that instance, though, strange things started happening inside the house. Over the years, there were mysteriously moved items, flickering lights, strange handprints on the second floor windows, dead animals on the porch, and strange creaks on the stairs. My parents never believed or saw any of these things, and they would always disappear or be normal when brought to their attention. After a while, Emily just started avoiding places in the house and eventually forgot about these things. Yes, I asked her about them, and yes, I tried to explain, but she would just shake her head and tell me not to scare her and go about her day. Fast forward years later when I moved out at 18. I lived in 2 different places over the next few years with minimal supernatural experiences. A few months ago, my washer had broke, and I went over to my parents to wash my laundry. Their washer and dryer are in the basement. You have to go down the stairs and to the left around a wall to get to the laundry hallway. At the bottom of the steps to the right, there is a makeshift wall using a refrigerator box to make a room for my younger brother. He likes to decorate with LED lights and has all sorts of cologne, shoes, and electronics. I say this because he always sprays his cologne so the basement smells nice and keeps his LEDs on either white or yellow settings. Another important detail is that me and my siblings had always agreed to skip the top step when going up or down the stairs. It made a loud, distinct creaking noise any time there was pressure on it. That was our childish way of knowing if it was our parents on the stairs or someone we didn't know. This time, when I went to carry my dirty laundry downstairs, I noticed a dull red glow. I thought that was unusual, but not impossible if my brother wanted low light. I called his name, but there was no response. He was not home, and neither were my parents. I felt an eerie feeling creep up my neck. I shrugged and walked downstairs while skipping the top step. As I got closer to the end of the steps, I smelled a rancid, suffocating smell. The best way to describe it is if there were rotting leaves and mold in a bag in your face. Very strange, but I went ahead around the corner and the smell went away. I shoved my phone in my pocket and turned off the hallway light, leaving just the dull red LEDs glowing to guide me. Immediately, I had the strongest urge to run. I was confused as to why, so I quickly went around the corner and up the steps. I get to the top step and skip it to stand in the doorframe. Suddenly, I hear stomping footsteps behind me running up as fast as it can, and the distinct creak of the top step being touched. I whirled around while backing up to close the door on whoever or whatever was behind me, but there was nothing. I felt the immense feeling that I was unwanted, and I ran for the front door. I went out and locked it with shaking hands and darted to my car. Nothing seemed to have followed me, but I kept repeating under my breath, "You are not welcome to follow me. You have to stay here." I felt relieved after I was outside and started backing out of the driveway. That's when I glanced up at the living room window, a giant clear square that was easy to see from the floor below. A figure, dark and featureless but too tall to be any of my family, was standing in the center. I panicked and tried to grab a picture, but it disappeared as soon as I looked away. I planned to never go back to that house alone ever again. So guys, I know we have an episode where somebody had sent me a story where something was running full speed at them, but they couldn't see it. And like I said in that episode, if that ever happened to me, I would be packing up and moving immediately. Because these type of stories freak me out the most. I think, honestly, I would rather have something that I could physically see, like a creature or whatever it is, running at me because I know what it is, I know the threat, but something that I can't see running at me, that freaks me out the most. So Liv, if you're watching this video, if you wouldn't care to let us know, if your family still lives there, do they experience anything? And did you ever tell them about what you experienced? And anybody in the comments that has any idea of what this could be, please let us know, because I don't personally know of any creature or anything like that you can't see, but you can hear running at you. My thought would be that this is an entity, but again, I could be wrong. So you guys let me know what you think this could be. But that does conclude this episode of Tea After Midnight. If you have any personal scary stories you want to share, I would love to read them. You can email me at the email.
It never occurred to me that it could be an elemental, because in the Appalachian Mountain it's like very common that, anyways, see, just like she says, I would rather, I tell you a story about the shadow man that was standing on the wall of that girl. Whenever she turned the light off, she can see it. But I would rather being able to see the enemy than to not. What do you mean? Like, I don't know where you're coming from. You're just running. All I hear is footsteps. How big are you? How small are you? What is going on? This is too much. What do you look like? Because I need to know. If I know what you look like, at least I can be like, okay, you know what? It's not that bad, right? But when you don't know, that's like going into a dark room and you see a coat hanging over something with a hat and you think it's somebody, and until you turn on the light, it's just a coat and you've been scared this whole time. I would rather know what it is first, because this is too much. The way I would move out of the house. And what do you...
This might be one of the most chilling photos of anyone ever taken on the Appalachia Trail. This is Geraldine Largay. She was a 66-year-old nurse who decided to hike the Appalachia Trail, but she actually went by the nickname Inchworm. The photo I just showed you was the last known photo of her alive while hiking the Appalachia Trail. She was a very skilled and avid hiker. She had already hiked 950 miles of the Appalachia Trail. She was in Maine at the time of her disappearance and was hiking this portion of the trail alone. Apparently, she walked off the trail a little ways just to use the bathroom, but she wasn't able to find her way back and got lost. She did send a text to her husband at that time, but cell phone signal was really spotty and the text didn't go through. Over the next couple of days, she tried to send more text messages to her husband, letting him know that she was lost, but none of these text messages ever went through. After not hearing from her for a couple of days, her husband reached out to authorities to let them know that his wife was missing, and they deployed a huge search team in search of Geraldine. They searched for weeks and could never find her. Eventually, things started coming up thinking that maybe she had fallen off a cliff, that maybe an animal had gotten her. They weren't really sure what happened. And it wasn't until 2 years later that a contractor running like a forest survey for the U.S. Navy found a flattened tent out in the woods that was located only 2 miles off of the Appalachia Trail. It was discovered to be Geraldine's remains, along with her tent, all of her belongings, and she kept a personal diary that she wrote for 26 days while she survived out in the Appalachia Mountains. Her last entry was basically pleading with whoever found her body to just let her daughter and her husband know where she was found. Only a few of the diary entries have been released to the public. The rest has been remained confidential for whatever reason. This story is so sad, but there also seems to be a lot of unexplained things in this story. For one, why have the diary entries not been released? Two, like I said, Geraldine was a very avid hiker, and the fact that she got lost just a couple of miles off the trail is really odd. And then the third thing is, if she was only a couple miles off the trail, why was nobody able to find her until 2 years later? Let me know your thoughts on this story, because I have been down a rabbit hole multiple times over this. So I'm very interested to know what you all think happened.
This is what happened to us for playing the Ouija board. So this guy says that this happened to him 4 years ago when he was 14 years old. He admits that his friend loved watching scary videos, scary stories, anything that would cause them to be scared they were interested in. And on this particular night, they were having a sleepover at one of the friend's house. His friend's parents were not there that night. They had the older brother be in charge, but the older brother basically said, hey, you could do whatever you want, don't break anything, and he locked himself up in his room. One of his friends ends up pulling a big box out of his backpack, and it was a Ouija board. The kid said it belonged to his dad and that they never used it. He remembers his friend put it on the table and they all started laughing, they all started joking, and they didn't touch it until it was midnight. It was between midnight and 1 in the morning. They turned off all the lights and they just had like this little lantern on. And they did read the instructions that were on the box. Don't play alone, don't make fun, don't take this as a joke, and always make sure to say goodbye. They all end up holding hands very nervously, and then they all placed their fingers on the planchette. They asked if there was a spirit present. 2 or 3 minutes passed after they asked that and nothing happened. He admits that he was about to tell his friends that this thing was not working, it was a joke, and that was when the planchette was slowly starting to move and it went all the way to yes. They all started looking at each other thinking maybe one of them was the one pushing it. He looks at his friends and makes them all swear that it wasn't them moving it, and they all said that they were not moving it. They decided to ask another question just to see where it would go to, and they decided to ask it what time it was. The planchette ends up moving to 12:55 a.m. He ends up getting his cell phone out, and it was exactly the time that the Ouija board said it was. The ambiance changed, like they were not laughing anymore. This was not a game. That's when one of his friends ends up asking the question, what kind of spirit are you? The planchette didn't move so easily this time, but then it started moving to M-A-L-O, which means malo, which means bad in English. He says that when he spelled out M-A-L-O, bad, that he felt a chill go down his back. Before they can even ask another question, they heard as if somebody punched really hard on the floor they were at, which meant that they would have to be under them, which is just an empty room where they would put random stuff in. They all stayed very still, and then they heard again another punch to the floor where they were sitting at. The thing is, where they were at, they just had to look out of the door and they could see the stairs that led down and the door where you can enter and then eventually be below them. As they're looking down there, that door begins to open slowly, and then out of nowhere it just slammed shut so hard it made all of them jump up from where they were sitting at. He did not want to keep playing, but eventually when they all looked at the planchette that was still in that table, he said that the planchette was moving by itself without anybody even touching it. By itself, it started lettering T-E-V-E-O, which in Spanish means te veo, which in English means I see you. You see me? No, don't see me. And instantly after, Ouija board saying I see you, they heard one last hit below them again. One of the friends immediately screams that they need to close the session and say goodbye. They said goodbye several times and they all removed their fingers from that planchette. Now, he was supposed to stay the night there, but he said fuck that. He called his mom still shaking, telling her that he felt sick and she needed to come and pick him up. That night, he returned home and he was silent. He was so quiet. He was thinking about what the fuck had just happened. He thought to himself, well, at least I'm far away from when it happened. Everything will be fine. Nothing is gonna happen here in my house. He goes to his room. He lays down. He says that he falls asleep almost immediately. However, around 3:40 in the morning, he explains that he was awoken because he almost heard like a whispering. When he fully wakes up, he says that he hears the whisper almost like if it was really close to his ear, and it says, I see you. Oh my god. Obviously, he gets up and he turns the light on, and he says that if you sit up, right in front of his bed is a really big window and you can see like the garden, like the yard outside of his house. Past the garden, you can see the street, but he says that in the street, he saw this really dark like shadow just standing there. He couldn't make out who it was. He just knew that it was someone standing there and like watching him directly into his window. His heart started beating so fast he thought he was gonna faint, but he immediately gets up, runs to his parents' bedroom. He tells them that there was somebody outside. His dad gets up with a lantern, with a gun, and he goes out there to see who the fuck is outside of the house. However, he doesn't see anybody. He doesn't find anybody out there. He ends up telling them that they did play the Ouija board that night and what happened, and they were both really mad at him. They obviously tell him that that is not a game, that is not for fun, like that thing is serious, and they went as far as to get a priest to come and bless the house the next day. And they also talked to all of his friends' parents so that they would do the same thing, which I think it's nice. Like, they even thought about them, but like, yeah, y'all got in trouble. I just know y'all got in trouble. It has been 4 years, and he said that he will never forget that night. He will remember everything in detail, and he will never play with a Ouija board again.
If you're a person that gets scared easily, don't watch this video. Today's story is going to be about me, my experience with having a dragon that was attached to me for years. It was attached to me for 5 years. And I'm going to talk about my experiences of what went down. 5 years is a long story to tell, so I'm just going to go over the most important moments. So the first month when it got attached to me, it would come and cuddle with me every night, like hold me from behind, and it would not show me its face no matter how much I try to turn around. It would always try to hide its face. And I did not realize it then, but I realized it afterward that it did that because it did not want me to see that it was not human. But I didn't, even within that month, I did not realize that it was not normal. And I just thought it was just dreams. I wasn't superstitious. I didn't realize or kind of know that things like that can happen. I was just a normal person going about my day, going about my life, and I thought it was normal. And every time it came to sleep with me, it would make me very, very sleepy and very, very warm and comfortable that I would just knock out like that. So that's how it did that. One night, after a month, I realized that there's a pattern here, something isn't right. So one night, I made a plan. I made a plan that when it came and slept with me that night, I'm going to find out who the hell it is and what the hell it's doing. So it came and cuddled me like usual, and I tried to stay awake, and I had a conversation with it. I asked, "Hey, who are you? What are you doing here? How are you doing? How's your day?" I asked those questions, and so then it kept talking to me, and it didn't make me go to sleep this time because it was answering my questions. So right in the middle of the conversation, I decided to throw my hand back really quick, like that, and I was touching his face. The texture of it was unbelievable. It felt gummy. I put my hand in his mouth, okay? Don't mind me. I was trying to figure out what it was, but when I touched its face, I did not know what I was touching. But it felt gummy, it felt bumpy, it felt like dry skin, but like as if I was touching a lizard's back, like a bumpy lizard back, like a bearded dragon or something. It was weird. The next event was when it came to me and showed its true form, and that was because I was finally seeking shamans for help to get rid of whatever it was. And it came to me to challenge me because obviously those shamans were challenging him. So it came to me one night, and it came to me looking like my husband, and it looked at me in my face, and it said to me, "You want to know who I am? You want to see who I am?" I was confused because I was like, why is my husband saying this to me? Like, oh, okay. And I just stared at him. I didn't say nothing. And he rolled off the bed to the floor. So I was sleeping on the other end, so I couldn't see where he was at down there. But as soon as he rolled off, he jumped back onto the bed in his true form. And I was just looking at him like, what the heck am I looking at? What is this thing? It did not look human at all. It did not look like anything I ever saw in real life at all. So I was so confused. It had like a lizard's head with a alligator or crocodile looking tail, and it looked like a lizard man. So I was just looking at it, staring at it like, what? My brain couldn't even process what I was looking at. It was really that scary and really that weird and confusing. This last one I want to mention was the most scariest event, and this happened right before I officially got rid of it. So I had a dream that I was at a farmer's market window shopping, and that farmer's market was right next to a very large river. And I decided to peek over at the river, just kind of observing it, and this random person came up to me and said to me, "Hey, why don't you go in the river?" And I was like, "No, I'm scared of water, no." And he said, "Go in there." He pushed me and nudged me to go in there. And I was like, "No, don't push me." And he came up from behind me after he did that and covered my eyes and started like fighting me. And I was trying to get rid of him and get him off of me. And we're fighting each other. And as we're fighting each other, I heard water trickling. And then everything went completely silent. And I was just kind of confused. Like, why did it go quiet? How come I don't feel him around me anymore? And I still couldn't see. Everything was pitch black. But I could feel like something was waist deep on me. So I used my sense of touch to survive. I was in survival mode. So I moved forward, and whatever I felt that was waist deep went higher to my armpit area. I was like, okay. let me go backward, see what difference it make. And as it went backward, it went downwards, and I decided to back up all the way when I didn't feel it anymore. And as I backed up all the way, I looked up to the sky and I saw the full moon. It was a full moon, and since it was full moon, it was shining light down. And as I was looking up, I was looking downwards towards the side of where it was shining light. It was really rocky, so I was like, okay, what the heck is this? And as I looked around me, that's when I was able to see clearly that I was inside a cave. Everything was rocky, and I was in a cave. And I looked around me, I saw water, and that was why I kept hearing water trickling, because we were fighting water, and that's why I kept feeling something that was waist deep or going lower when I was moving around. And I looked at my foot, and I was standing on an island. And that was when I heard my spirit guides calling my name and telling me to go home. So, me knowing my things that I usually do, I usually snap myself awake by telling myself to wake up, wake up, wake up, and I will wake up. I did that a few times, and I finally woke up. And then when I went to seek a shaman, they said that the dragon that was attached to me took me home, and that was his front door. I was bright nap. But I am doing much better now, and I'm fine now. And that situation really taught me on how to deal with bad dragons, how to fight their ass, how to get rid of them. And it really allowed me to also help others that have gone through it or they're in that situation currently. And yeah, thank you for listening to my story.
Warning to go ahead and scroll if you get scared easy, because I'm going to be reading a scary story submission that was sent to me via email. So sit down, get ready, or again, scroll if you get scared easy. The email reads, "Hi Casey, you can call me H when you read this, if you decide to read it out loud for everyone. I came across your TikTok page and I found it most amusing. It's no secret I love paranormal things, and I always did, even as a child. Your stories reminded me of some of mine. I want to start off by saying I'm from Egypt, Giza to be specific, and where I used to live when those following stories happened was pretty close to the pyramids and the Egyptian Grand Museum that was under construction at the time. Very known thing in my family that we see stuff, paranormal stuff anyways. I would love to say my mother is famous for it, which meant I somehow ended up with the same issue. As a child, I would see shadows or hear whispers, but as we moved into that house, which I spent over 14 years in, things grew interesting. To set it up, it was a 2-floor apartment. The top floor was where the bedrooms were, and the bottom floor was the living room and the kitchen. The issue always was the stairs. For a long while, my room was right next to the stairs, till I moved into my own individual one, leasing that one to my sister in 2020. When I was 7, my mom saw me coming out of my room completely from the dark. She said I ignored her, didn't look her way when she asked me to take her phone and cigarettes downstairs with her, and walked downstairs and disappeared into the guest bathroom. She was so upset she rushed downstairs, only to find me asleep on the couch with my dad. And Dad confirmed I never was awake in the past 3 hours. The stairs were, well, like any stairs you can think of, but it was always wrong. I feared them at night most. The part that was down was the most scary. And I used to own a cat. I like to mention I never lived long without one. You know, animals just know things. And he too was scared of the stairs. Often, I'll find him staring at the top of it from downstairs or at the wall next to it. I also often see cats that weren't mine, black or white cats, for just a second. I would also feel them next to me and physically feel them touching my leg like they were passing. And when I was 16, the nightmare started. It was always the same, in the wolf hour, around 3 to 5 o'clock. And before Fetcher starts, they put in parentheses, the prayer, if I mispronounce that, please correct me. I would dream of a tall, dark woman standing, all leaned down, and she didn't fit, coming slowly upstairs in my room direction. I always woke up before she made it fully up the stairs. Never seen her face. It was always so dark, but it always felt heavy, paralyzed, terrified. Whenever I was on those stairs, I would feel movements behind me. Or when I slept, I can sometimes feel the mattress shifting, like somebody was sitting down on it behind me. If I went downstairs for a snack at midnight or past it, I can always see things moving near the stairs from the open kitchen, and I always chose to ignore it. My cat would spend hours staring at the walls of the stairs, not even answering or looking at us, and it would always be by the stairs in my nightmares. Every time, the same dream. I eventually learned not to sleep in that hour, whether after or before, but not in between 3 to 5 a.m. and I always took my cat with me everywhere. And sometimes he would run like something was after him. There was a lot of weird things about that apartment, but for 14 years, the stairs terrified me. I have no explanation. I was told by the gatekeeper of the building once that he too encountered stuff in the basement of the building. A huge shadow he came across while fixing something, let alone the fact my mom saw things on the stairs too, or heard them. I would also love to mention the apartment next to us where the stair wall connected was empty, as well as the one on top of my room where I heard often kids running or furniture shifting. No one lived there. Everything always stops when Fajr prayer starts. I've moved now, and I would be pleased to tell you that this new apartment has none of it. And my new cat, my older one, passed. I also used to see him often after he passed, while I was very awake midday. He wasn't scared at all. I feel no negative energy here, and not me nor my mom encountered a single thing since then. I have no idea what the old apartment could have possibly had, or why I was the most to see, hear, and feel it, but I promise you it lasted long enough. With love, H. H, first of all, this is one of like my favorite stories that's been sent to me. Little fun fact about me, I love Egypt. I'm obsessed with Egypt. I'm obsessed with the pyramids. I could go on a whole rant about that. So this is actually so interesting to me. It does not shock me that you would have experiences like this, especially if you're intuitive, empathic, living in an area with so much history, with so many unanswered questions. I'm super happy to hear that you guys are in a space where you feel safer, more connected. I definitely don't like that sounds like the spirits that you were encountering in your previous space, they seem negative. It seems like you were fearful, like very fearful, and like it wasn't positive energy. So I am happy that you are away from that, and thank you so much for following me and supporting too. If you guys want to send in your own submission to me, you can send it to the email that I'm going to put right here on this video. It's also located in my bio. If you want to see more scary stories, make sure to go ahead and give me a follow, like, comment, and share. As always, thank you for watching. Love you, bye.
So the other day I was out with my girlfriend and she was like, girl, what is going on? It seems like everybody's attention is on you. And then somebody sent me a free drinks. So I had to pull her aside and say, girl, it's because of my eau de root oils that I've been using. So this is my little thing where I mix the oils and keep them in here and then just put it on, on my neck, my heart, and like my wrist. But these are the oils that I've been using, and as you can tell, I am a fan of Eau de Roots. I've been using their products for such a long time, and I swear by their products. So this is the attraction oil, and what I do is I like to mix my oils. Hold on. Mix my oil in the little shell, and I'll put them in my thing here, and whenever I'm getting ready to go out, I'll put a little bit on, and I'll completely forget that I have some attraction oil in there until like people start sending me like free drinks or sending my friends free drinks, like all of us at the table, and or people will come up and say, oh my gosh, you smell so amazing, what are you wearing? And I have to say, Eau de Roots have been literally doing her thing. I have to be quite honest, because I don't just use the oils, but I also use their candles as well. Now, I know a lot of people might think that, oh, love and attraction candles are to like, cast a love spell on someone. This video is sponsored by Eau de Roots, and you can use the code Jenny10 for 10% off. So when it comes to love candles, you can actually do a love and attraction ritual for like jobs, or you do it for yourself. So you cast a love and attraction spell on yourself to attract love towards you. So you become a magnet for love, basically, right? Instead of like doing a love spell on someone, which y'all know how I feel about doing love spells on people. But yeah, so it's all about your intentions when you're working with candles. And these candles are so beautiful, and when I tell you, oh, they smell divine. Literally, they smell so nice. And it's already charged, and all you have to do is basically set your intentions to the candle and tell it what to do. I remember I burned one for a brand deal, and I got it.